Naples 1, Portland Hearts of Pine 1. FC Naples pick up a critical point on the road early in the season on their second road trip of the year. My name's Ian, joined as always by Paul. Paul, a point pretty well earned for the boys, huh?
Yeah, they took the whole game to do it. Had some good fortune, great officiating. We always like to criticize the officials, even though we hate doing it. And a huge call goes our way. I said in the preview that I was not going to be critical of any performance as long as we walked away with a point, and that's exactly what the boys did.
Yeah, kind of a rotated starting 11. I was expecting more rotation coming into this after that long game Wednesday night. Everyone just kind of looked gassed by the end of Wednesday. Short week, really short week, and having to travel up to Portland, Maine. I don't think Portland, Maine's a very easy place to get to, so I can't imagine what the flights looked like. They probably had a layover in Atlanta or Charlotte because you can get anywhere from those two airports. But a slightly rotated squad. We saw Ian Cerro come into that and Dominic Backstein come in, as well as Juan Azario getting the starts. What did you kind of make of the lineup? It almost looked like a 4-4-2. I couldn't tell if Migletti was sitting in there kind of more in the midfield or what. But not a lot of attacking for us going on in the first half until we made those changes at halftime.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know you're really excited about Joe Migletti, and I'm just not quite sure what he's going to bring to the team. I agree with what it was supposed to be. I think that's what the official Instagram posted, was that it was going to be a 4-4-2. Um, yeah, so I'm not quite sure how him and Bachstein play together. I think Bachstein's one of those guys that's got to be up there alone and surround him with wingers more than kind of that center forward, I guess, is maybe what Migletti was playing. Um, yeah, so I think that it was one of those. Absolutely agree. The legs looked tired. They didn't look. They were making uncharacteristic mistakes, especially in turning the ball over, and the recoveries weren't as good. It definitely looked like they knew the scouting report that Portland was going to struggle to score, and kind of relied on that to bail them out from some early sloppy, lazy passing. So, yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts.
Yeah, the other change I forgot to mention was Tristan Rose coming in for Josh Yoder. Josh Yoder kind of getting a break there, and no Chris Garcia at all in the squad. It seems like he stayed home. We got to also talk about the weather delay too, getting delayed about 40 minutes at the start. I don't think that had really anything to do with that sluggish first half performance. I think it was more so what we had talked about with that short layoff, but hard to get up there and then have a 40-minute weather delay and then finally get going. And it also looked, the weather is just awful from our boots on the ground reporter coming back to us. We did have a couple FC Naples fans up in there. I know Veronica Rodriguez was one of them, because she messaged us on Instagram and said how bad the weather was. It was 40 degrees, raining. It kind of showed on TV. It just looked like a miserable, I mean, proper football weather. Like the English would love that, but tough day to get started there.
Yeah, and that's going to play a role. And you mix in the tired legs, the bad weather. I didn't realize how cold it was. I did add Portland to my weather bug app when I was trying to figure out how long this delay was going to be. Um, and yeah, it doesn't bode well, especially you do the warm up, and the next thing you know, you got to sit, and it's cold, and that's not what we're used to. We talk about our home field advantage all the time. Teams having to come down into the heat and the humidity. There's something to be said about the reverse in these cold weather cities.
Yeah, lots of long sleeves, lots of gloves being worn. It seems so. Some cold weather, like you said. After we've had some beautiful weather down here in Naples, tough sledding. Pun intended
Pun
there.
intended. Nice.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it too. The back line and kind of the middle of the midfield with Osario and Messias. So the middle two center backs, I think, and then those guys just kind of seem to be on different pages for the whole start of the game. I think that's what led to their goal too, was just a silly turnover. not a lot of pressure, just kind of almost like a hospital pass through the midfield. And it seemed like we had quite a few of those in the first half. I would have loved to be in the halftime team talk and just hearing what was said that kind of got us to snap out of it, because I thought the second half was a lot better as far as we moved the ball a little bit better, and I wasn't sure if that was just, Torres and Farine coming on, kind of giving us a little spark or what, but kind of definitely a slow first half, like we mentioned. Then what you talked about earlier was they had the free kick opportunity, goals in the net, score goes up on the board. They're showing the celebrations on ESPN Plus. Then all of a sudden they cut back and we're taking a free kick. What did you make of the officiating decision that went in our favor with that offside call in the goal?
Yeah, I think it was one of those plays you don't see called very frequently in a non-VAR system. See it too frequently if they can go review it and see um, he's clearly offsides. He, I would say, he interferes with the sight line, does make an attempt at the ball. If I was a Hearts of Pine fan, I'd probably be a little upset, but I think ultimately it was the right call. And kudos to the officiating crew for getting it right. And I think after watching the replay a few times, it was the right call. I did think to myself in that short time in between the goal being put up on the board and us kicking the ball, I was a little confused because I looked away. And next thing you know, we're kicking. I was super confused. I had to go rewind it to be like, what happened here? Listen to the announcers explain what's going on. So I think it was the right call. I think looking back, it's hard to argue, especially with the attempt that the guy who's in the offsides position tries to make. Um, to me, that's the final straw, and the AR on the side there is right on it. I guess he doesn't try to play it; he tries to get out of the way. But as I'm rewatching it right now, but I think it's the right call.
Yeah, I think the whole point of having the offside rule is, does the player gain an advantage from being in that position, right? And obviously, if the ball is played directly to them, they do. But I think Delgado definitely had to adjust how he defended that one based off of where he was standing, whether it be because he was directly in his sight line, which I think is what we see a lot in the English Premier League and in games with VAR, is where they're looking at, okay, did he interfere with play by blocking the goalkeeper, blocking a defender? And I think here it's kind of both, where he is trying to jump out of the way because he I think he does know he's offside, just almost standing on the front post. And he's trying to get out of the way, or was he trying to flick it in and just completely mistimed it? I don't know, but I think he's definitely interfering with playing, gaining an advantage by being there. I kind of noticed when the ball went in, I said, wait, I think he's offside. And noticed the assistant referee wasn't running up the field, which is what they normally do when the ball goes in. So it's like, okay, maybe they've got something here. And then they just cut to the celebration's going on. You're right. Then they cut back to us basically taking a goal kick. And I was like, I think they've called that offside. And then finally we get the replay. And sure enough, I think it was a spot on call. And like we were talking about, not a call we see often in the VAR-less game. So good to see the rule being properly enforced without video assistance.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating. As I've rewatched it probably 4 times just now, I think if you're a Portland Hearts Pine fan, you have every right to be upset with that call because him being there, the goal's going in. If you like take that guy completely off the field, but kind of the build up into that, he does make contact with Delgado. It's unfortunate. It might be a tad harsh, but that those are the rules. Those are the rules of the
Yeah,
game.
I think it does affect the way Delgado dives too, because he's anticipating a flick off of that and not
Hmm.
committing to the ball that's going to go into that bottom corner yet, because he's there. So I
Yeah,
think that's kind of where they determined, okay, yeah, he interfered with play. He did have an impact being there. One of those, yeah, 50-50. And I think if we did have VAR, I think if the call on the field was offside, I don't think it gets overturned. where same if it's vice versa. I mean, it depends on the VAR. Maybe if you're Liverpool, it would get called offside. Sorry to the Liverpool fans listening to bring that back up again. But I think it's a 50-50, and I think for us that's the right call, and I liked the call, and all bias
and
aside, right?
as yeah, yeah, I think we are looking at this from a biased lens a little bit, because I do think that if that goes in, we don't win, we don't come back. My guess is they still get another one before half, and we're down 2-0 going into halftime. And as great of a manager as Poland is, I don't think with our legs, I don't think we're coming back from 2 goals in the second half. Here's my question: if that ball goes left and beats Delgado to his right instead of going right at that player who was offsides, do you do you still think that it should have been, would have been, or should have been offsides?
No, if you're saying so, if the ball goes in the other
Other
corner of the
direction.
goal,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think so, because I think that he's far enough away then that it
Hmm.
doesn't really impact the play. I think because of the kicks coming like right at him and he has to get out of the way of it, I think that's what triggered for me at least the offside, is because we had to kind of adjust. Delgado especially had to adjust the way he defended that.
No, that makes sense. I'm sure there are a lot of people watching this who, even with the play by play, might not have understood why that goal got overturned, because it is unique. You don't see that very often where somebody's offsides and doesn't play the ball, and the offside flag still goes up. I think I've seen it once or twice this season watching the Premier League. So it is a unique call. So I'm glad that you were able to explain it to some that might not know the rule.
Yeah. Then Portland does get their goal. We kind of mentioned it, just a silly pass across the middle. We've had a few of these instances, I think, this year where we've just kind of given the ball away, not really under a lot of pressure either, and then had to catch up, which we were able to do most of the other times. This time, though, I think it was Ollie Wright just kind of took us on, and Drac for them took the ball off, who he had scored the goal that got called back for offside. He's looked really good coming into this Portland side from Westchester. But yeah, Ollie Wright, just he loves a goal against us, it seems. Takes off full sprint and able to bury it past Delgado, make it 1-0, 36th minute. At that point, what were your thoughts? Did you think we would be able to come back and salvage a point or get the win even in the second half?
Yeah, that looked more like an 8-iron bump and run more than what we've seen with Naples with these flop shots. No, I don't want to say I didn't think we were going to be able to come get a point. I thought the task looked a little tall, especially in your mind. You're thinking, okay, we should be down 2-0. Um, I think we agree the offsides was the right call. It still doesn't help, and I think that's probably Poland's message in the locker room. Hey, we should be down 2. We're only down 1. We can overcome this hill. Made a couple great subs at half, and the tide seemed to turn, because I think this game felt all Portland the whole first half. That was probably one of our. It was a very lazy pass, and it just the play that got the goal. It was such a lazy pass, and it was so perfectly played up the field. Um, as bad of a play as we made there, I do think kudos to Portland, because that was a couple great plays, a couple good touches in order to get into the position to finish. Um, but going into half, I'm thinking we'll be lucky. We'll be lucky to squeak out of here with a point. And I would say that at no point did I feel we were getting 3 um, in this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. They had defended us so well, and former FC Naples center back Brecc Evans, he looked, I thought, really good back there for them. That first half, they just really suffocated any chance we had, and even we had a couple balls that kind of landed, back post or were bouncing around the box, and were there for the taking. But they had like 6 or 7 guys already back in the box, ready to defend it, and hopefully put it out for a goal kick, corner kick, whatever it might be. I thought Portland did a really good job of setting up for our 4-4-2 almost. where they didn't really give us much in the way of chances, and then we weren't able to create a lot of chances. And we've said, we keep saying we're not a team that's going to have a ton of chances, although you see us against Orlando just creating chance after chance. But that first half for sure, I don't think we really had a whole lot going forward. Second half was a different story, and I thought the subs all really contributed to the game, and we did see that with the Kevin O'Connor assist on our goal. I did think second half was kind of like, especially after that 75th minute-ish, especially after Rose's yellow card, I think when he had the stop their attack, we kind of seemed to kick into gear again and said, okay, this game's still there for the taking. Let's go. We can get an equalizer here. And we finally got it 87th minute with Max Glasser's first professional goal. And what a goal it was.
Yeah, I think that goal was world class. I like discussing on here when there's certain goals that go in that you're just like, no keeper in the world is saving that. I don't really think it was poorly played by the defender either. Maybe that winger could have marked him a little longer, but watching that replay and the cross coming in, there's not much anybody can do. And to finish that, I don't think I can stress how difficult hitting the ball in the air after running full speed and putting it on target. A lot of times when you see plays like that, you see that play probably 3 times a game in some way, shape, or form, and the ball goes 50 rows up. When you're like, "Oh, what a crazy goal." And it makes you think when these guys take these crazy shots, you're like, "What are you doing?" And then you see that one go in, you're like, "Okay, I understand what you're trying to do. The success rate is just so low." And you gotta celebrate those world-class goals when you see them.
Yeah, it was a great run too. Like, to kind of give the whole team credit here, everyone that was up there made some sort of run into the box, and it seemed like all of their center backs and their defensive midfielder players all kind of tracked back to defend the guys that were making those initial runs into the box, because it looked like Farine had made the run, and then our new signing, who Aravello, who we just signed, he made a great run too. I think Hudson Gay threw the ball in originally. I don't think he was up there, but everyone was in the box making a run, and then all of a sudden it's like out of nowhere, here comes Max Glasser, and the ball falls right to him, and he's able to just bury it, like wide open at the back post. And they were kind of looking at it. Portland seemed to look at each other like, where the heck did he come from? And what a ball too by O'Connor, just to pick him out, ping it across, and create something from that was something really, really special.
Yeah, it was a beautiful goal, a beautiful run, and much needed, right? I think this podcast, the vibe of this is drastically different. If that one play, and like that's the craziest thing with soccer is, it really comes down to one or two little things that can really impact your entire week. As a fan, I mean, if we lose that game, you're a little grumpy, but the ball bounces the right way. But then we still got to defend. That those 7 minutes were a pretty stressful 7 minutes. They were really trying to find that winner. It's probably the most stressful. You know, m- I think the Corpus game left a lingering taste in my mouth because they had it full tilt those
Yeah.
last few minutes.
Yeah. And Delgado comes up huge with a huge save right at the end. Um, in the rain too. And I think I think Brecc Evans is the one who had the shot that he saved. Which is kind of funny, but just in the rain too, when that ball kind of flashed across goal and it's there at the back post, and he just gets a palm to it and tips it out. Huge save there to kind of close that game out, make sure we secure the point and don't head home empty-handed. Super, super important. And as we were critical of him, I think after Corpus Christi, saying he wanted both back, and I don't think we can say a bad word about him since then. He keeps stepping up time and time again and proving himself, and That's why he's the captain, and that's why he's back there, right?
Yeah, exactly. We sometimes can overreact, specifically on this show. I love to overreact. In that performance, it wasn't great, but everybody's entitled to an off game. I'd be pretty upset if I didn't have a great day at work and then I turn on my podcast to hear how poorly I did at work that day. So I think he, like we said, and I think that the credit goes to him because I think we knew, you know, he knows. We didn't need to tell him that he didn't play well. He knew he didn't play well, and he's worked really hard since then and hasn't been beaten since then. I don't think on a goal that we can sit there and say that should have been saved since that game.
Yeah, no, we saw, I mean, a lot of clean sheets against Richmond, against Greenville, against Sarasota. The goal against Orlando was a great goal. The goal against Portland, another great, like, well worked goal, 1v1. It's hard to stop that. So yeah, he's really stepped up, and there have been a lot of good chances, I think, and a lot of great saves from him. Do you have a man of the match that you liked in this 1-1 draw?
Got to go to Glasser, right? I mean, what a goal that he puts into the back of the net. First professional goal. To me, that's the easy answer. I'm going to give it to Glasser because I will give it to our boys in a draw, especially when that draw feels like a win.
Yeah, when you score in the 87th minute, definitely a draw that feels like a win. We're big on the draw that feels like a win versus draw that feels like a loss mentality here. Definitely a draw that feels like a win. I'm with you on Glasser. I think he would be my go-to as well. Cisneros, I thought, also had a really good game. Really going up and down that wing all night. Both left and right backs, I think, have stepped up immensely this year and have really kind of come into their own. They're getting forward. We saw Glasser score his goal, but I think they both had really good games. I think Kevin O'Connor came off the bench, and he really set a spark too to this team. Same with Torres and Farine. They came off, and just the runs they made, the passes they played, I think that kind of led to our goal where they had, Portland kind of shaken and was worried about them. So I'm with you on Glasser for man of the match. Cisneros probably my number 2, and I'll go O'Connor 3, especially with that assist that he had.
Are we doing 3 stars to the game now? Or are we moving towards a hockey? I feel like every game you want to give it to 3 guys. So maybe that's what we need to start. Maybe that's what we got to start doing is giving our 3 stars of the game.
I like that. We can be different, not just do 1. I like to call out when people have good performances because, it's easy to sit here and say this guy played bad, but when people play well, I think they deserve the praise for it beyond just, this guy played really well and he scored, so we're going to give it to him. Goals as a former goalkeeper, goals aren't everything. It's hard. It's hard out there.
Yeah, and you go back to as great of a goal as that was. I mean, that pass, that cross from O'Connor is so good.
To pick him out and see him making the run was, I think that's having that vision and foresight is impressive.
Here's the question. Do you think that he was intending to pass it to him, or do you think he was trying to target Farine down there?
I think he was intending to pass it to him because you just kind of see him. You see, I've watched it a lot now. The way he looks up, I think he kind of is like, I got to float this up past these guys because the guys making the run in are going to get picked up and he's not. So I think he sees him making the run, and we've seen both Cisneros and Glasser making runs like that all season. I think there's even 2 where they had done so it's those runs, especially that late in the game. Both of those guys played the full 90 against Orlando. They've been there, pretty much all season. We missed them a couple games, kind of with Knox, but Glasser, I know earlier in the game, Cisneros too, were making these runs and weren't getting the ball, which has to be so frustrating. And then to make that run in the 87th minute, to dig that deep, like the more I kind of talk about it now out loud, the more impressive it is that we've got a right back that's making that deep run that late in the game, having played, 180 minutes in 4 days.
Yeah, and if I'm gonna go additional stars, my number two would be Delgado. Like we said, stepped up big, kind of all game, and they did have a lot of high danger chances. Then I'll go with the OC as our third star of the match.
Yeah, definitely a point well earned, point that feels like a win. And we've said on this show too, if we can keep winning our home games, which we've had a lot of to start, draw our away games. I know Portland's kind of been struggling to find their form. I thought they looked a lot better against us. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's an us thing or maybe they've started to kind of figure something out. Talking to the guys from Portland, it seems like it's the latter. Like, hey, we might have figured something out here. We might be okay after all. But to get the point, you got to take it. And we come home back to the warm weather and get ready for Miami next Wednesday.
Yeah, we get the rest that we desperately need after those two games. And, this is going to be one of those things, the results like this, when we're talking in September, you know, instead of saying this is a must win game, we start looking at we just need to walk out of there with something. We're going to have tough games late on the road, and picking up points early in the year allows for missteps that it's going to happen at some point this year. Going to go on a losing streak. That's most likely what's going to happen. Very rarely does a team not lose multiple games in a row in professional soccer. So you have that, and then just I have a suspicion that I think there's going to be a clear top three, and hopefully we are in that top three. And I anticipate 4 to 10 just being a turkey shoot and coming down to the last two or three matches. And I suspect that there will be two or three playoff spots up for grabs on the last match day of the year. So I think number one, we want to finish in home field. So ideally, it's one or two, so you get home field throughout until the final, or just getting into that top four. And the second goal is not having to worry in playing stressful minutes. Those last two or three games, you want to be comfortable with where you are, be able to play, make rotations, keep everybody fresh and healthy going into the postseason. And results like this help you get there.
Yeah, for sure. And just the fact we don't have to go back to Portland, Maine this season. I mean, you hope we don't have to go back in the playoffs because we'll be hosting in the playoffs. But just to cross that one off the list, we got the point in the bag. We're not leaving empty-handed. It's huge. Like you said, this early in the season, it's all about accumulating points, which we've done a pretty good job of so far,
Hmm.
with only one loss. And keep racking up the points. It'll be a lot easier if you have points and other teams are trying to catch you versus trying to catch up to other teams, and needing them to drop points late on.
Yeah, and if you want to be critical, quote unquote, of Portland and not being great so far, they have been on the road. All these games have really they go to the Cosmos, they win, then they play Vermont Green. Sure, we can say that maybe they lost. They got cup set, fine. Then you go on the road to AV Alta, followed by Paradise, and then you get Knoxville and Naples at home. I mean, if you're a Portland Hearts of Pine fan, I don't think you could ask for more than I think Portland would have taken 2 points against us in Knoxville coming back after that long road trip. So I anticipate Portland being fine. I think they're a team that can push for the playoffs late in the year. So I think between the Orlando game and playing a good team, uh, everybody should be pleased walking away from that one with one.
Yeah, how that team lost to Paradise 1-0, I don't know. If it was just the end of a long road trip or they just hadn't really found it yet, I don't know how they lost to Paradise because seeing them play on Sunday is a different team, I think, than the team that lost to Sarasota, or Lakewood Ranch, if you will. So now we're taking a quick pause from the USL League One season, moving on to the tournament formerly known as the Jägermeister Cup, the Prinx Tires Cup. We'll come back because we do have a week and a half. We don't play until April 29th. So if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, that's going to be next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, the 29th. So we'll come back with a preview pod sometime next week, probably. But Prinx Tires Cup, are you excited for this and taking on some teams from the USL Championship?
Yeah, now that we're done with the US Open Cup, I think that this is going to be a really fun tournament to get engulfed in. It is going to be very interesting to see. I think the goal, right, would be to win the group. I think it's going to be tough with a couple championship sides on there, but we do kind of lose. We lost South Georgia, which I think we would have been counting as a 3 point for that potential wild card. So I am curious how they're going to grant that because now we have less teams in the group and um, so less games. So you take away an opportunity for 3 points. The way it works for those that are interested is 7 groups between all the USL. I think it's just one and the championship. Looking
It
at the
is.
teams,
You are
just
correct.
just just the top 2 flights and 7 groups. The winner of each group obviously moves on, and then there's one wild card which goes to the team with the most points. So we're the only team with
I
less than
think they fixed
6.
it though because I think you don't play everyone in the group. You're only playing four other. You have 4 games essentially
Okay,
against. So you're not. Everyone doesn't play everybody. So
okay,
because the games are even, we just happen to play everyone in our group now. So they've
gotcha.
replaced. We weren't originally playing Miami FC. They've replaced that with the South Georgia game with Miami FC.
Gotcha, which makes it tough because now we're playing an additional championship side
Right.
versus so still in the same boat where the only non-championship side is Paradise, so it makes that game even more important that we knock Paradise off and just try to pick up a few points against championship sides. I think it's going to be fun, and hopefully for the first time in club history we can get out of the group.
Yeah, that would be huge. I mean, I think the U.S. Open Cup's always been overrated. Saying this after we've been eliminated, I think the Prinx Tires Cup is a more coveted trophy.
It's got to be,
So we should go
gotta
win
be.
this instead. Um, but yeah, taking on Miami FC, the real team from Miami, the original team from Miami. Well, I guess that's the Miami Fusion, but the Miami FC is who we're taking on next week of the USL Championship. For those wondering at home, or if you want to do some scouting, they play at Sporting Jacks on Saturday, April 25th. So it's this upcoming Saturday before they have to play us on Wednesday. So they've got a short week of rest coming up, not having to travel far, just up 95 to Jacksonville. But we've got a nice weekend off now, so no FC Naples games this weekend. So can just sit back on your couch and watch the first round of the Prinx Tires Cup.
Yeah, very nice, very convenient timing for us to have Tormenta on the schedule. Um, so that game drops, and now we get that extended break. And I do think that it's not so long that we're going to see that rust start to pile up. So it'd be good to have a weekend off. I'm sure they'll do some sort of inter squad scrimmage over the weekend, try to stay fresh. But I think that everybody in the organization is probably happy to not have to go to South Georgia next weekend and can spend another weekend in beautiful sunny Naples, Florida.
Yeah, a nice little break, well deserved break too after all of the fixtures we've had. For those wondering too, the group now consists of FC Naples, Miami FC, who's in the championship, Sporting Jacks, and Tampa Bay Rowdies, who are both in the championship. Obviously, Rowdies just up 75 from us, and then Sporting Jacks. This is their first year in the championship. And then Sarasota Paradise is the USL League One team that is in our group. So, like Paul mentioned, all the group winners advance plus one wild card. So, I think in order to get out of the group, we'll talk about this more later, but in order to get out of the group, I think if we can beat everyone and lose one game, that should do it. But
Mhm.
some another fun tournament to be part of. I just wish we could have an excuse to try more Jägermeister. Maybe we'll switch to Malort. Shout out to everyone who knows what that is. The Chicago liquor of choice, Malort.
I will not be joining you on that trend. I'm good. I'm good on that. I'll take a pass. I'll take a pass.
Paul, anything else to add before we wrap up and get out of here?
No, I think it's going to be kind of a lonely week without an FC Naples game to look forward to. So perfect opportunity to get in touch with the show and reach out, stay connected. It's a long season, so it's a good break, and hopefully we can make the most of it and come back strong next weekend.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna watch yet on Saturday and Sunday because our team Nottingham Forest plays Friday. So it's either going to be a great weekend of enjoying soccer, or if Forest lose on Friday, it'll be pretty miserable. But
Like I
like Paul,
said, one bad bounce can ruin your week.
yep, yep, very much so. But like Paul said, get in touch with the show. Follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter at Forza Naples Pod. Email us forzanaples239@gmail.com. Let us know what you like, what you dislike. Like, subscribe, share this podcast with all your friends. Until next week, we will see you soon. But come on, Naples.